Is there a prompt? There are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
What's going on, 7-footers gang? It's your girl Jenna here. Jarod, what's going on over there in those streets? We're back, baby.
We are back. It's NBA season's here. We are, we got about a week and a half, 2 weeks left to the end of the year. I mean, it's busy, exciting, crazy times, but let's get into it.
That's right. We have a fun episode planned for you guys because these are our official season awards, our predictions for MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Sixth-Man Coach of the Year. The list goes on. We got you guys covered. And this is the special episode that really solidifies the shit talking for the rest of the season. Because when my pick fails or Jarod's, the ball busting starts, and that's when it gets really fun. We have to admit that.
Let's be real. When
Now,
all your picks fail is really what we're talking about here, because that's usually what happens.
He's already at it, folks. He's already at it. Not even 30 seconds in. Let's start, though, with a quick couple notes here because we have some big names and big stars and big contract extensions that we got to talk about. All right. I want to get your thoughts on this Rudy Gobert extension. All right. 5 years, $205 million with the Jazz. Biggest contract ever for a big man. And he says, quote, "It means they believe in me. They believe in me in what we've been building over the years with this whole organization." I like that. I agree with that. I'm glad he thinks the team believes in him and things of that nature. What do you think? Is this contract rightfully deserved? Biggest contract ever for a big man.
I mean, Rudy is a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year winner. He's been an All-NBA center. Like, he's very good. It's a lot of money to pay for someone who is not a plus offensive player. But look, what the Jazz are saying is we are tied in to Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. We believe that those two guys are cornerstones, of a franchise of what we want to build. So look, I mean, they like him there. He likes being there. It's well earned. I mean, he earned it, right? Because the only way you get a Supermax extension is by winning one of these coveted awards. And as I said, he's been a multiple-time DPOY. Look, Utah isn't a free agency destination, right? Like, we know that. Free agents ain't lining up to go sign at Utah. That's just not how it works. So if they have someone that good, they got to do what they can to keep him. They offered him the most money, obviously, with the Supermax extension. I mean, you'd be crazy to turn down that money. Kudos to them. Do I think that is enough to win a championship, Donovan and Rudy? No. They're going to need some other pieces, and we'll see what they're able to do. We know the Jazz have a new owner in Ryan Smith, software billionaire, so we'll see if he's able to do things a little bit differently, potentially, than what the Miller family did. But kudos for Rudy. Happy for him.
Hey, and I mean, yeah, Utah isn't a trade destination spot. However, Jarod, I don't know if you're tuning in or if you're a big fan of the Housewives, but the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is new, it's good, it's addicting, and it's incredible. It's these Mormons who, with all due respect, they are just riding that fine line of just breaking all the rules, leaving the church, and it's just getting wild out here. I'm just saying, I want to go to Utah. I want to also know Donovan Mitchell's thoughts on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And also, shout out to my friend Lisa. She's on the cast.
Okay. Well, listen. See, that's why this show is so great, because we've got the sports angle and the entertainment angle. So with Real Housewives of Salt Lake, what you're basically saying is Utah is becoming the new California, right? Salt Lake might be the new LA. LA Midwest. LA Mountain. We'll see.
Exactly. And I mean, if one of these women team up with a baller, and then it's like Real Housewives. Did you imagine Donovan Mitchell walking in the back of like a cat fight at a freaking house with the wine flowing? I would be like, oh.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Real Housewives
I'll
of Salt
pitch it
Lake.
to Bravo.
I love it.
Really quick before we go on here, back to Rudy. His relationship with Donovan Mitchell. You like this relationship?
Well,
I
look,
mean, they're good now. They had a few months in the road.
they had some bumps on the road. Look, like any sort of arranged marriage, right? Because that's what they are, right? It's not like they were friends prior to and then decided to, come team up together, right? Rudy was already there. Utah drafted Donovan Mitchell, right? And they then had to work together. But look, they obviously had some bumps in the road. The COVID thing was a big thing. There's a lot of different things that, were seemingly problematic. But again, both players locked up into their extensions. Donovan signed his earlier this offseason. Rudy just signed his. So they obviously wouldn't have signed if they had a real problem with the other person, right? So as far as a working relationship, the two of them are at a stage where they are happy working together. Are they the best friends off court, hanging out, doing stuff? Likely not, but that's okay. You don't got to do that with all your coworkers. Once your relationship at work makes sense.
Exactly. I mean, hey, all I gotta say is there's a lot of money in Utah because between the initial contract and this Gobert contract, that's insane.
A lot of cash, a lot of cash.
Like just the kind of money that they're just like locking up here.
Not bad work if you can get it.
Hey. All right, let's move on to the Greek Freak because Milwaukee managed to lock him in. They got him down for the Supermax, and it's massive. The amount of money that they got this guy on, and not to mention, it changes the trajectory of the NBA now because now the focus shifts. People are really focused on Harden now. Things are happening. Milwaukee, they're set. Giannis, not a pick anymore. So everything changes for all of these front offices. So tell me, are you surprised that they were able to lock him in?
I'm not surprised. Look, I think we need to be careful about making the Giannis Supermax extension more than what it is. And what I mean by that is that now, when it happened earlier this week, earlier last week, I should say, we saw all the stuff on the social media. Giannis's loyalty, he's got loyalty inside his DNA, like, yay, Milwaukee, kudos. And I'm not here to poo-poo or rain on Milwaukee Bucks fans' parade. Like, I'm happy for you. Great. Like, you got to, keep your guy. But all it means is the team that offered him the most money got him, which, of course, the Bucks can because they have his bird rights, right? Can he sign with them? But it doesn't mean that he's going to be there the duration of that 5 years of that Supermax deal. Because guess what? If Milwaukee, for whatever reason, doesn't deliver or they're no longer competitive and no longer a title contender, he can easily ask for a trade. Like, just because he signed does not mean it guarantees he's staying there for the next 5 years, right? All it means is the most available money that was out there, I took it. Period. End of story. Again, this is not to get the Milwaukee fans upset and say that some other big name market's going to come and steal your guy. It's not about that. But everybody got so, oh my God, Giannis is so loyal. And I'm not saying he isn't loyal. All I'm saying is that just because he signed that 5-year Supermax extension does not mean he's staying there for the full 5 years. See James Harden, see everybody else who, can sign deals and then ask to be traded later on.
True. And I'm glad you pointed that out too, because a lot of people don't really think about that for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they think that it's, okay, he signed the deal. And yes, to your point, Jenna, it does change the trajectory and landscape for the other teams who cleared up all that cap space to potentially make a run at him next summer. Well, now he will not be available in theory, right? Okay, so you guys got to do something different. So it does change the landscape and the plans of other teams. But something I want to draw everybody's attention to. The Miami Heat, everybody was looking at the way in which they were making moves because everybody said Pat Riley's going to go after Giannis come 2021 in the summertime. But they also signed Bam Adebayo to his max extension. And that would have made things much more difficult to go after Giannis Antetokounmpo. But there's a connection there where Miami may or may not have known, not saying they tampered, but possibly may have known that Giannis was going to sign his extension and said, well, since that ain't happening, let's just make sure we lock Bam up and we don't have to worry about that. But anyway, look, again, as I said, all that stuff is down the road. For right now, Giannis has, Milwaukee fans feeling good. He has the Bucks organization feeling good, but don't rest on your laurels. You have to continue to make this team good enough where they can actually compete for an NBA title. They've been the best regular season team the last couple of years, but they have not gotten to the conference finals, right? So there's some work to do in Milwaukee.
Much work to do in Milwaukee. And last thing on that note, which I think you may have already answered it with that last tidbit, is it enough right now to take them to the finals?
Look, I think Drew Holiday is an improvement over Eric Bledsoe, so that's good. They of course have Chris Middleton, and their bench. They lost Wes Matthews, so that might be a bit of an issue for them. But look, ultimately, this is going to come down to the coaching changes, the coaching philosophies, and the switches that Bud's able to make on the fly in the postseason, and the continued improvement of Giannis and the reliability of that consistent jumper, right? Because again, we always say it, regular season basketball and playoff basketball, two completely different things, right? When the defense knows what you can do and they say, okay, yeah, Giannis, we're not letting you get ahead of steam and dunk on us. No. We're going to sag and pack the paint, and you have to consistently beat us with your jump shot. And until he can do that, because when he adds that, then you got no hope. Because then it's like, then he's Kevin Durant, and he's all right, and it's like, I can't do anything with you because you can hit me from any possible way. And that's why you're able to stop Milwaukee right now. It's because when he's cast into that role as initiator of offense, playmaker, and do everything that is much harder in the playoffs when the entire defense is keyed in to stop you.
Amen. That was one of your best analysis that I've heard in a minute.
Thank you. I tried.
I like that. Now, I want to hear what you got to say about this next one, because we got to talk about James Harden. We really do. It's so interesting because it's changing by the day between the rumors and the sources and whatnot. So we know he's not happy in Houston. We know he wants a trade, but the question is where? Now, it's interesting because he's a free agent in 2 years. So if he signs somewhere, that team's got to sweat about him re-signing. So that also gives me anxiety. But we're increasingly hearing about the Sixers trying to maybe include Ben Simmons in trade packages, but the talks really aren't near a deal. What's going on? Is Harden moving, or is he going to have to, play nice and share the backcourt with John Wall?
Look, I mean, clearly James Harden's made it clear that he does not want to stick around in Houston. When he was asked last week during his media availability, obviously we know about the great relationship he had with former GM Daryl Morey, who's now the president of basketball operations in Philly. And, they asked James about current Rockets GM Rafael Stone, and Harden said, "We haven't spoken." And that was it. And it's like, well, that doesn't bode well for a good relationship. So it's clear that he does not want to be there. Now, again, if you are the Houston Rockets, however, look, man, you're kind of in a strange spot, because the longer this goes on, teams will just wait it out, all right, and be like, look, we'll just wait and make you take less, take 50 cents on the dollar or 75 cents on the dollar. Because when you have an all-NBA perennial MVP candidate like James Harden, when you are considering moving him, you have to get back a lot in return. And Houston's asking price, rightfully so, because it's Harden, is extremely high. But if I'm another team, look, this may be more of an issue for you the longer this drags on. So I'm just going to wait you out, right? And be like, okay, we'll wait till your asking price comes down, because there's going to come a breaking point eventually where Houston, Tillman Fertitta, the Rockets owner, talks to his team and says, look, we gotta, I'm tired of hearing about this. Let's just make something happen here, and you've got to lower your asking price. And I think that is the direction, and that's the position that the Rockets are in. But they're not going to want to get completely hosed in any kind of deals. They're hoping they get back draft picks. They're hoping they get back young talent. It's interesting, of course, Philly, Ben Simmons potentially being part of it. How much of that is smokescreen? Because, whenever stuff gets leaked like that, I think Daryl does. Yeah, I don't, because I think Daryl wants to see, as much as he loves James, and we know he does, I think Daryl wants to see what Joel and Ben will look like with better shooting around them as they have right now, which is, partly why he constructed the roster the way he did. So I think they want to give it some time to kind of see how it plays out before they go, let's get James Harden in here, right? So I look, Harden wants to go. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. He's gonna be on this roster. at least until the trade deadline, I think. So we'll see what happens there. Again, if you're Houston, you have to be very careful because you can't let the whole thing drag out for a couple of years and this continued sort of, because it's also part of it on James Harden's end. He doesn't want to look like a total bad guy here, which is already starting to kind of look like a little bit, right? So he's got to at least be professional and come to work and do his thing. And then we'll see as time goes on what the Rockets are willing to accept and who's willing to make that move. So it'll be interesting. I don't think Brooklyn really is a suitor anymore. I think that, again, he's going to have to look at expanding his list a bit. Yeah, no.
I can't see it in Brooklyn. I mean, as groundbreaking as it would be, you can't, there's just too many pieces. There's too many. Yeah. There's only one ball. It gives me anxiety. I mean, hey, 3-time scoring champ, James Harden. We'll see.
We'll see. I
mean, beard gets cooking.
Listen,
all bets.
Let's be clear about one thing, and I've said this all the time on this podcast. He is one of the finest offensive players we've ever seen in the history of basketball. Say whatever you want about the aesthetics of his game, you like whatever. What is undeniable is that fact that I just said. He is an incredible basketball player. And yes, I mean, in theory, he would make any team, quote unquote, better.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And he's your guy. I mean, he did come back from Vegas looking like he went to Vegas. But
there was some funny, I was like, damn, bro. I was like, what you been doing? Although I do wonder, Harden is also a little thicker than most players. So I just, he's a solid dude. Like, he's a solid guy. So I think, anyway.
We have talked about that. We have. But, they're the savagery of it all, though. Again, I don't want to go into it, but there were people comparing him to Kendrick Perkins.
Listen, the internet's ruthless, man. And that particular angle of that shot, I was like, damn, son, you got to chill with them Krispy Kremes. Like, it was like that angle looked bad. It looked real bad.
It wasn't fair. Damn it. They shouldn't have done it. Whoever published it, man. All right. We got you guys covered on the latest news, the updates, the contract extensions. But now here's the real reason why you guys are here. Our awards, okay? Like I said in the beginning of the episode, this is where the shit talking begins. This is where the floodgates officially open, Jarod. So let's kick things off with MVP. Mm-hmm. This ain't a hard one for you, girl.
Well, go ahead. You go first. Tell me who your MVP is, and then, give me a little why, and then, I'll respond.
Okay. This is a little, like I said, it wasn't hard for me.
Right.
But also, me, sometimes I can't separate my heart from my brain.
I know.
So I'm going to say, I am going to go with LeBron James, obviously.
Mm-hmm,
but
obviously.
I would not be surprised if Luka Doncic won it over my guy. But on a real note, I am going with the reigning champ, LeBron James. I think he's been snubbed too many times. He is due. And, just the way we see him play, the way he played last season, the championship, everything, I think he's just going to go on a tear. I think he knows, as you say, father time it's trickling down. So I think he's just going to, this is it.
I love the fact that you say.
He signed that year, so he's got to do it now.
I love the fact that you say he's been snubbed too many times, even though LeBron James has won 4 MVPs, and only 2 men have won more MVPs in the history of the NBA. So let's not lose our minds. And by the way, those 2 men are, of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Michael Jordan, which, if you are familiar with this podcast, I often say the only 3 players who can ever be considered in the greatest of all time conversations are, in fact, Kareem, Michael, and LeBron. That's it. It's those 3 dudes and nobody else. Now, moving on to MVP. As you know, it's a narrative-based award, right? And the narrative is already starting. And Luka Doncic is the betting favorite in every betting website you look at. And it's just, you can hear it. Yeah, and we haven't gotten to our Christmas Day episode, which will be coming out, which will be our next episode. Luka's got the Christmas Day showcase game, right? So it's already starting to build that, all right, like it's now time to sort of pass the torch and hand the league over to the next superstar. And the Luka talk is already there. So he's certainly the early narrative favorite, and all things being equal, I could see him winning it. Don't sleep on LeBron's teammate Anthony Davis. The only reason why I'm not picking any Lakers is because of the way in which the turnaround time. And that's something that's concerning me for any team that played late into the bubble to end last season. So the Lakers, the Heat, and the rest of the conference finalists, right? The Celtics and the Nuggets. Like, it's just, to me, those guys have had like 100 days off at most, 77 for the final. That's not a lot of time, man. And you got to come back again for, yeah, that's high level basketball. And so a lot of those teams,
71, I think it is.
Yeah, it's super short. So a lot of these teams are going to be coming out of the gate, I think, slower than normal and getting a lot more rest than usual. And for awards like MVP and all these awards, really, you come out of the gate slow, and that generally doesn't help your case. In terms of outside shots to look at, Damian Lillard is an outside shot because a lot of people are liking Portland, and Dame's just that kind of guy who got so much belief and confidence, and Portland could be one of those high finishing seeds. And a name I'm going to throw out there, which won't surprise any of you, if the Brooklyn Nets somehow manage to be a top 3 or 4 seed in the East, and KD plays 60-something games, and he leads them in scoring, don't be surprised if he gets MVP nods and considerations, and a narrative starts to shift. But that's where I'm thinking right now. Luka, early narrative favorite.
Yep, completely agree. Good point, too, about Kevin Durant and that narrative, because we're going to see that, of course, the comeback story. We're going to see that type of narrative trickle up. So don't be swayed, people. Don't be swayed. All right? That's all I got to say. All right, Defensive Player of the Year. I am going with Anthony Davis.
I love that pick. AD?
He just signed a big contract. There's no reason why he shouldn't win it.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. AD was second in DPOY voting last year, I believe, to Giannis. I can easily see that. He is a phenomenal defensive player. Can switch 1 through 5. Is an excellent rim protector. And he and Rudy Gobert are among your early, betting favorites if you're looking again at lines and odds. Rudy Gobert, of course, as we mentioned earlier on the top of the show, a multiple-time winner already. Someone who I think could be a long shot is Joel Embiid. And I've said this on this podcast before a bunch of times. Joel Embiid is one of the rare people in this league who is talented enough to win Most Valuable Player and Defensive Player of the Year. And with a new coach in Doc Rivers, I wonder if that part of his game, because so much about defense is quote-unquote want to, right? Will that part of his game get unlocked? And does Doc say, look, Joe, we could be one of the finest defensive teams in this league with Ben at the head of attack and you at the rim? I mean, we could be lethal. And you've seen it for stretches where Philly they are stingy defensively for stretches. It's just not consistent. If they can be consistent, if Joe can stay healthy, he's a long shot. I kind of like what's going on down there. But yes, if you're sort of like, I want to put money on this, Anthony Davis and Rudy Gobert are among your early sort of narrative favorites.
I'm going to go, that was unanimous for me. There's no reason. I mean, he's incredible around the rim. I mean, you can't, with him on the floor, you're not getting past him. You're just not.
It's quite good. It's quite excellent.
All right. Rookie of the Year. All right. Y'all know I love my Knicks. So, Obi Toppin, baby. Obi Toppin. Rolls off the tongue, too. It's a nice name. Obi Toppin. No, for real. He's already shown out. He seems exceptional so far. I mean, he's 22 years old. Real good offensive talent. And I think that he really is already starting to turn heads on the Knicks.
Yeah, this is so funny. In one of the rare, we both picked the same player. Look, Rookie of the Year is one of those awards where it generally goes to whichever rookie leads the rookie class in scoring, generally ends up winning the award, right? I love Obi Toppin here because look, the Knicks are going to be pretty bad, I think, but they're going to be competitive because Tibbs is going to have them playing harder. And
Yeah.
I could see Obi as a Tibbs kind of guy. Look, if he averages 16 points, 9 boards a game, I mean he's right in there. So I like Obi Toppin as Rookie of the Year.
Heck yeah. I'm glad we can agree on something, Jarod. How nice. These rare occasions, we have to take them in. All right. Let's talk about Sixth Man of the Year. Okay. You may be surprised at my pick.
Surprise.
But I am going to go with, again, this is a wild card for me, but I am going to go with Dennis Schroeder.
Wow. So here's the interesting part about Schroeder. Well, tell me why you think Schroeder.
Okay. I think Schroeder because if you think about it, after last year, he was in the conversation as well, but he obviously lost to Montrezl Harrell, but he was right up there. And honestly, I would have took him before Harrell. So I think that this is just his continuation. Now he's with the Lakers, the reigning champs. I think, and here's a big reason why I picked him because, and again, this is not because I'm a LeBron James stan, whatever, but he has that aura, kind of like a Chris Paul. He makes people around him better. He only elevates people. So I think that is going to be so beneficial to Dennis. I think this is a continuation of last year, in my opinion, and I think that he's focused. And, I mean, it's the Lake Show, baby.
The Lake Show. I love it. So my only quote-unquote concern about that pick is, does Schroeder know he's coming off the bench, or does he think he's starting? Because there was some back and forth in the, where he was saying, oh, no, I'm starting. I'm not coming off the bench. And it's like, all right, well, you can't win six-man if you're starting. So if, in fact, he is going to come off the bench, yes, that's an excellent pick. I have no qualms with that. For my six-man of the year, I went with Karis LeVert of the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn has so much depth, and right now it looks as though Karis will not be in the starting lineup. It looks like it will be Spencer Dinwiddie instead. And if you remember, last year in the bubble, Karis led the Nets in everything, right, in their playoff series and in the play-in games. He was leading point scorer, rebounds, all that. Like, he was the guy. And the year prior to the playoff, when they were in the playoffs, and D'Angelo Russell was injured, Karis was the guy when he came back, leading them in points. He was aggressive, and that was again as a focal point of the offense. If he has to come off the bench and go after second units, that's going to be feast for him. He's just going to go nuts because he already knows what it's like to go against frontline starters. Now he's going against backups. Oh yeah, because he is a starter level talent. And Steve Nash just talked about using him in that Manu Ginobili role, which we know Ginobili excels. Ginobili could have easily been a starter throughout his NBA career, but was crushing with the second unit. And a little known fact about, and this is nothing to do with Six-Man Award, but this is just about the idea of like starting and coming off the bench, whatever. What actually matters in the NBA isn't who starts, it's who finishes the game. That's what matters, right? The players who are on the floor to close the game, those are the most important players on the floor. Not necessarily who's in the nominal starting lineup. But yeah, Karis LeVert, Six-Man of the Year.
I like that pick. I feel like that's a little bit of a dark horse kind of pick, too. A
little bit.
I feel like a lot of people don't look his way. I don't know why. It's kind of annoying.
Well, he's got to stay healthy, so that's a big thing, too.
Yeah, very true. Facts. All right, last but not least, Coach of the Year. Who is going to be the Coach of the Year? I also went back and forth about this, and I think a lot of my pick is going to depend on the season, the type of season that his stars have, but random a little bit here. I'm going to go with Rick Carlisle.
Ooh, look at that. I like it, little Dallas Mavericks. Well, look, if Luke is in fact the MVP, if Kristaps comes back and Porzingis is going to be, he's not starting the season because he's still recovering, so maybe sometime in January he'll take the floor. But look, if Dallas finishes in the top 3 or 4, that's a jump for them. Yeah, Carlisle's up there, and he's long been lauded as, one of the best coaches in the NBA. So I like that pick. For me, and again, same as you, it's about the stars. If the stars stay healthy, and they make a run, I love Steve Nash for Coach of the Year. First-time head coach, Brooklyn Nets. They have a lot of expectations. If they finish in the top, 3, 4 of the Eastern Conference, yeah, I could see him getting a nod. The other coach I'm looking at for Coach of the Year, Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns. He now has Chris Paul, who he used to coach when they were in New Orleans. If Paul is able to, again, we talked about how LeBron elevates his teammates just like Chris does. If he stays healthy, and again, all of these awards and picks that we do, this is barring no injury, no crazy COVID outbreaks, right? I mean, there's a lot of ifs, right? Those things have to, because if those guys get injured or things happen, then all bets are off. But if Chris is healthy and the rest of those Suns are healthy, I think he's going to really be able to implement, again, and I hate cliches, but be that coach on the floor, right? Be the second voice that Monty's preaching and get guys like Ayton especially to unlock their potential where, Devin Booker can do. I think Phoenix is going to be, better than, obviously they were last year. And if they win like 43, 44, 45 games, yeah, that's nice. That's a nice jump for them.
Yeah, definitely. Other guys I would say to keep on the radar, obviously Brad Stevens, but the Celtics really need to have a little bit of a jump here, I think, for him to lock in that award. And also, I didn't want to be, so cliche and predictable, but obviously I have to show love to my guy Eric Spoelstra. I mean, come on.
Yeah, look, the Heat, they're incredible.
Oh my God, just to hear the way he talks about Jimmy Butler too. Oh my God, you gotta love it. But that is it, guys. That is it. We got a short and quick and sweet one for you. So don't forget to check us out. We are pumping out content now all the time because the NBA is back, Jarod. Tell them where they can find us.
It sure is. You guys know where to find us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We are at 7footerspod on Twitter, at 7footerspodcast on Instagram, at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemoncelli, and we'll see you with our next episode, our Christmas Games preview special. Peace.
Woo.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what's a man gon' do? Chevy told me come